Okay, welcome to the GISEC Keynote podcast. And today we have a very special guest indeed, Kevin Mitnick, the greatest hacker in the world, formerly number one on the FBI's most wanted list, on the run from the FBI in the 90s for over a year. He's coming to Dubai on the 1st of April to show us some of his great social engineering and hacking feats. But first, we're going to catch up with Kevin. We're going to ask him some questions about his time on the run from the FBI and what he considers to be his greatest hacks. So Kevin, what was your favorite hack ever?
What was my favorite hack ever? Actually, my favorite hack is when I was 16 years old. I worked out how to take over McDonald's drive-up windows from a distance away. So what I would do is I'd hide across the street, and when customers would come up and place their order at the drive-up window, rather than getting the guy inside with the headset, they'd get me. And you can imagine how much fun you could have at 16 years old. So when a customer would drive up, I'd go ahead and take their order, and then I'd say, "Hey, you're the 100th customer. Please drive forward. Your order's absolutely free." Then another customer would drive up, and I can clearly see into their car. And in this particular case, the customers were overweight, so they placed their typical orders for Big Macs, fries, quarter pounders, apple pies, cherry pies. And then I said to the customer, "Based on the make, model, and weight of your vehicle and the weight of the occupants, I suggest you change your order to the McSalad." But my hands down favorite is when the cops would drive up, I'd go, "Hide the cocaine, hide the cocaine." And so the manager of this McDonald's runs out into the parking lot. He's looking into the cars. He's looking, just all around and doesn't see a thing. And then he walks up to the drive-up window speaker and he bends over and peers inside as if somebody's hiding in the speaker. So I key down my microphone and I go, "What the hell are you looking at?" And this guy flies back about 5-10 feet. So hands down, that's my favorite hack ever.
What was it like to be one of America's most wanted and the most wanted hacker in the world, Kevin?
Well, when I was running from the government, I changed my mindset that it was an adventure. Because if you're running from the government or from the FBI, you don't want the stress that you're looking over your shoulder all the time. So I put myself in the mindset that I was living a cover identity, and I learned my cover, was able to create and obtain new identities that were issued by the federal and state government. And that way, I was able to keep kind of a sane mind and not be stressed all the time that I was wanted by the government. So was it a fun adventure? I must say it was quite interesting because it was kind of the first time I could travel anywhere in the world. I could adopt a new identity, get a new job. I wasn't hacking to support myself. I wasn't, committing crimes to support myself. I'd obtained legitimate jobs. I worked at a law firm for a year and a half in Denver, in Seattle at a hospital, doing IT help desk support. So I took legitimate jobs during the day to support myself under new identities, and then I would hack at night because that was my hobby, my passion. I wasn't a hacker for profit or to cause any harm to anybody. It was all about the challenge, the seduction of venture, and the pursuit of knowledge.
I heard you left a present for the FBI whilst being chased. What was that? Is that true? What was it?
Well, before I actually became a fugitive, I had a system that could monitor the forward control channel of the local cell phone company. Back in those days, we're talking about in the early 90s, 91, 92, there was only two cellular operators in Los Angeles, Pac Bell Cellular and LA Cellular. So what I did is I bought this device that I could interface with a scanner, and what this device would do is, convert the digital stream that's going over radio into intelligible text on my computer. So I could kind of get a look into the underlying workings of the cellular system. So for example, somebody was receiving a phone call, I could see a page command on my computer. And how the setup was, it was a Radio Shack scanner connected to my computer through a device called a DDI. And this digital device was doing the interpretation or the translation from the radio signal to my computer. So what I did is I obtained the cell phone numbers of the FBI agents that were in charge of investigating me. And that's a long story of how I was able to obtain their numbers. So I'm not going to bore you with that right now. But once I got their numbers, I programmed them into my computer. So if any of those phone numbers came within a 1 mile or 2 mile radius of the cell site that serviced the area where I was working or living, it would basically send me an early warning alert. So one day, weeks after I set this up, I walk into my office. I actually was employed as a private investigator in Los Angeles. And when I disabled the alarm, I still hear this weird beeping sound as if the alarm was still enabled. Well, I was walking down the hallways trying to figure out what this was, and it turned out it was coming from my office. The early warning system had been tripped. One of the federal agents cell phone number that I had programmed in actually was in my area a couple hours earlier when I was actually sleeping around 6 a.m. And at this point it's around 8:30 a.m. So about 2.5 hours. So then I'm going, wow, the FBI was at my residence when I'm sleeping. I'm trying to think, why would they be there? Well, obviously it wasn't to arrest me because nobody knocked on the door and let me know they were there. So I figured they were there likely to serve a search warrant, and not to serve a search warrant, to get the information for the court, which described the premises to be searched in an effort to get a search warrant. So I didn't believe they had a search warrant yet, else obviously they would have, raided me that day. So I was thinking, wow, they must be getting a search warrant. So that evening I went to my apartment. I took everything of interest to the FBI out, and I stored it at a couple friends' places. A couple friends, I divided some of my equipment up. And then I went to the local Winchell's Donut House. Now, Winchell's is just a brand, like Dunkin' Donuts, for example. And I had 24 donuts that I ordered, and it was in the Winchell's box. And I had a Sharpie, and I wrote FBI Donuts on it. And I put it into the refrigerator because I thought it was imminent that the FBI was going to search me. Well, the next morning, around 6 a.m., I'm awakened by some jiggling of my doorknob, at my apartment front door. And then I jump up, and immediately I'm thinking it must be some burglar or something, because the FBI always pounds on the door. They don't try to, pick your lock or anything. So I yelled through the door, "Who is it?" And they go, "FBI, open up, open up." So I open up the door, and I'm standing there, and about, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 federal agents storm into my apartment, and they present me with a search warrant, and they're there to search for anything that's computer related. And to their dismay, they didn't find one thing. All computer media, any computers, everything was removed from my apartment the night prior. So then one of the agents actually looked in the refrigerator, and in the refrigerator saw the box that was labeled FBI Donuts. Well, they were pretty pissed off. And by the way, they didn't even eat one of the donuts. Waste of money.
I heard the US government put you in solitary for almost a year. Why was that?
Well, when I was arrested, I went to a hearing in federal court called a bail hearing. And a bail hearing is a hearing to determine if there is a condition or a combination of conditions that will reasonably assure that I'll appear for trial, and that I'm not a danger to the community. Well, I was expecting to get out on bail that day because I never heard of a computer hacker being held without bail. That's usually rapists, murderers, robbers, the real serious criminals. So the prosecutor stood up and addressed the court and says, "Your Honor, not only do we have to hold Mr. Mitnick without bail, we have to make sure he can't get access to a telephone while held in prison." So the confused judge goes, What do you mean? That doesn't make any sense. And the prosecutor went on to say, well, if we allow Mr. Mitnick access to a phone in prison, he could dial up to NORAD, which is our Northern Air Defense, to our NORAD's computers, whistle into the modem, communicate with the modem, and launch an ICBM, a nuclear weapon. Well, I started laughing in federal court because I never heard of something so stupid in my life. And my attorney got very angry with me because when you're a defendant in court, especially attending a bail hearing, you should never laugh. Well, I just couldn't help myself.
Kevin, this is your second visit to GISEC. How do you rate the show, and why should people attend?
Well, I'm almost becoming a regular. It will be my second time keynoting GISEC. I did this about 7 years ago. I believe I opened up the show. And that's fantastic. I didn't know a lot of people were discussing it at RSA, but I believe it's a really important conference to attend. When I was there last time, and this was 7 years ago, they had some, obviously they had some great speakers, and it was a great networking opportunity because at the end of the day, everyone wants to get the tools, the techniques, and procedures they could use in their business to mitigate the threat, to mitigate the chance that they're going to be a victim of a security incident. So it's definitely a great conference to attend.
If there's one reason why people should come and see your live hacking demo, why hackers attack and how to attack back, what is it?
Well, I believe it's interesting. What I'm demonstrating during my keynote is some of the methods, or what we call the TTPs, the tactics, techniques, and procedures that the bad guys use to exploit your systems in your business or you as a consumer. And I've made these hacking demos very understandable, so you don't have to be a super tech. They're actually designed for more of a business-like audience, so everybody will get it, and they'll learn how easy it is for the bad guys to break in. And don't forget, the bad guy only has to find one vulnerability or one way in to get a foothold on your network. You, as the defender, trying to defend your organization against these attacks, has to figure out every potential vector that a bad guy will exploit to get in.
Okay, wow, plenty of reasons then for people to come and see your live hacking demo. And Kevin's going to be doing his hacking demo and social engineering display on the 1st of April at 10:30 at the GISEC main stage. And you can come and meet him for free, of course. Don't forget, if you come at 11:30 to Hall 7 to the Spire Solutions stand, you can come and meet Kevin, have your picture taken with him, and maybe get a free book as well. Thank you, Kevin. Anyone who's interested in signing up for GISEC, the largest cybersecurity show in the Middle East, Africa, and Asia, simply go and visit gisec.ae. Come and Google us online. We're easy to find. Hope to see you there on the 1st to the 3rd of April. Thank you.